1793 that wasn't on the agenda. I call Senator Swedzinski to present testimony about Senate File 1793 regarding additional support for students who are homeless.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. The bill before you right now is a bill that will appropriate a few $100,000 to do exactly what our youth need more today than ever before. Our youth today, many of them are lacking a sense of political efficacy and a sense of civic virtue, and they're becoming many are becoming disengaged and disconnected from the political process. And if we can allocate a few dollars that might get them at a youthful age, that we can hook them, and voting and civic duty is an addiction. And if we can hook you at an early age so that it becomes a habit the rest of your life to read the paper and get involved and continue the roles that our founding framers of the Constitution set out for this great nation over 200 years ago, I hope we can gain your support on this bill. The three organizations that are seeking this $200,000 are exactly what, in my opinion, is the epitome of youthful engagement towards this wonderful thing called Republic. 200 and some odd years ago, Ben Franklin walked out of the Constitutional Convention, and a group of people gathered around him and they said, Dr. Franklin, what do we got? And his response was a republic if you can keep it. And what he meant by that is people like you guys willing to serve your country and your state and your communities, and we don't want to ever lose what we've created. And so my idea for the bill is to allocate $200,000 for this. And speaking today on this bill is Amy Anderson. Amy Anderson, it's a tough name like Swedzinski. Amy Anderson, who we're going to hear from next. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to testify today. My name is Amy Anderson, and I'm a member of the Civic Education Coalition. That includes the Learning Law and Democracy Foundation, the YMCA's Youth in Government Program, and Minnesota Civic Youth, which coordinates the Minnesota Kids Voting Network. When it comes to civic education, I was one of the lucky ones. I grew up with parents who were very civically minded and who talked to me about the theoretical and political and practical aspects of being a citizen, including its rights and responsibilities. I had teachers like Senator Swedzinski, who were passionate about civic education and who encouraged me to learn about how our government works, along with the rules and practices we need to preserve our democracy. Not every child in this state is so lucky. In the past few decades, the focus on public education has turned sharply towards science, math, and literacy as we seek to help students develop employable skills. The fact is, students need both: preparation to participate in the workforce and preparation to participate in society. I'm certain that many of you share my sense of pride that for the second presidential election in a row, and for the 8th time in the past 9 years, Minnesota led the nation in voter turnout. That accomplishment is not an accident. The fact is, our state has developed a strong civic culture around voting. Part of the way we do that is through programs like the Kids Voting Minnesota Network. And thanks to the funds that Senator Swedzinski is asking for today, we're able to more than increase the number of students who cast a ballot on election day this year, from 45,000 to more than 115,000. Why is it important to create opportunities for students to participate in the election process? Because numerous student academic studies and electoral analysis show that voting is habit forming. Senator Swedzinski made that. We want to hook young people and hook them and get that to be a habit for life. Once you vote, you're more likely to vote again and again and again. For the past 6 years, our Civic Education Coalition has worked together to develop and offer complementary, nonpartisan programs and lessons to promote civic education in schools, communities, and government. I know most of you here know about Youth Day at the Capitol and participated on that day. My organization, Minnesota Civic Youth, was one of the partners with the Minnesota Alliance in helping to bring Minnesota the Youth Day at the Capitol to fruition. And I think we all saw the benefits of being able to engage hundreds of young people, sometimes for the first time, coming down to the Capitol and recognizing that they were just as valued in their voice as they walked up to their senators or their representatives to say, I live in your district and here's what I care about. By doing that, we allow them to understand how the process works and hopefully give them the confidence to do that again as they find issues that are important to them. Retired Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Paul Anderson has said, "We are at a critical time for civics education, maybe even at a crisis point. Civic education currently suffers from malnutrition, and we need to restore its health. We cannot take our well-known civic culture for granted. We need to invest in the knowledge and skills to be good citizens, because the problems we face require good citizens. And you are the citizens today and the citizens that will continue to lead the communities once you go beyond high school and college and settle somewhere. You are the people who will be the leaders. And so developing these skills and the beliefs in the foundations of our democracy and how it works has never been more important." But thank you for your time today, and happy to take questions.
Are there any questions for Senator Swazinski or any of the testifiers? Mr. Anna Richmond?
Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a tad bit confused about what's kind of going on here, so I'm sorry. I don't catch on. So, can we kind of explain that again, both of y'all, please? Sorry.
The bill will allocate $200,000 appropriations for 2018, 2019 calendar years. So it's $400,000 combined, and it'll be divided up between 3 organizations, all dealing with getting youth who are passionate and who have a skill set and who want to try to make a difference while they're here on the planet Earth. And the organizations are Minnesota Civic Education Coalition, the Learning Law and Democracy Foundation, and the YMCA program Youth in Government.
Mr. Nirasu Tufo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, when you say you're going to allocate money for civics, is this for K through 12 or what age group specifically?
So the 3 organizations that are working together as part of this coalition do programs in K through 12. One of the reasons we came together as a coalition is that we each focus on slightly different areas of civic education, and we also focus both in school and out of school time. So we really try to be complementary and maximize and leverage the dollars that are presented as part of this grant that we get. The Kids Voting Network, did any of you participate in on voting on election day? Yeah. So that's one of our programs. I know I recognize Ms. Mendoza over here. She was part of another program we do called Youth on Boards, where we work with young people to help place them on government and nonprofit and community boards to get that experience. We also have a lot of lessons on a website called teachingcivics.org. And then maybe if anyone's heard about Youth in Government, which is the Y program. So we really do try to, in a fulsome way, grab young people wherever they're interested in the kinds of programs they might be interested in, be that political and elections and civics, and bring them in and give them those kind of experiences that help to keep them excited about civics as they grow.
Mr. Colin McConkey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering what specifics and what sort of, where these allocations would go to? Like, would they create clubs? Would they create new classes? Would they create more opportunities for kids to understand government and participate in government? I'm just wondering what the money would go to.
So I think Senator Suzuki said, so there are 3 nonprofit organizations that we named. We divide the funds up into each of our organizations, and then each of our organizations creates different programs that are available to young people. The Learning Law and Democracy Foundation focuses on a program called Project Citizen, and another program called We the People, and also in developing lessons on a website called teachingcivics.org that is accessible and used by teachers across the state that bring into government and civics classes. My organization has a program called Kids Voting and Youth on Boards and the Youth Day at the Capitol that we talked about. And the Y focuses primarily on youth in government, but adds and does enhancements to that program each year given with these extra funds. So it's divided into these 3 nonprofits, and then the nonprofits themselves actually develop different programs based on youth input on what is most interesting and most needed.
Ms. Tiara Daniels?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, I would just like to know what kind of groups are we targeting with the nonprofits, are these all like Twin Cities area? What age groups are there, specific high schools? Are we talking public, private, charter, all of the above? I would just like to know some more specifics on that. Thank you.
I think the correct answer is all of the above. All of the programs are open to statewide involvement. I actually would have been nice to hand this out, but I didn't think I had to bring the copies. But here's a little, and I'll pass them around, I'll leave some here. Here's a flyer that talks about the work that we've done, including the programs that we've done in the past and the programs that we are planning to do. And you can't see it from where you are, but there's a map on this little handout, and all of these blue dots are communities around the state that have benefited from the programs of one of the three organizations. So we are statewide. We do work through a very wide network of ways of connecting, whether that's through schools, whether that's through teacher professional development, through the History Center, through the different Ys in the different communities. So our goal really is in coming together to maximize the number of networks that we can utilize to reach the maximum number of young people. And I'll leave these, I'll leave a couple of these. Love that.
Ms. Jessica Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is about how, if there be some way of measuring the achievement of or overseeing of how the money is used in these different departments.
So currently what happens is the money is allocated through the legislature and it's assigned to, at this point, 2 fiscal agents. So we work with the Minnesota Humanities Center and the Department of Education, who are the fiscal agents for the nonprofits. And we work on a reimbursement system whereby we have to develop the programs, spend the money, put forth an invoice to those organizations, and then they reimburse us for the funds for the different programs that are going on. So the oversight actually comes through the legislature, to the fiscal agent, to the nonprofit, which also then has a board that monitors and there are reports that are due to that fiscal agent twice a year, let them know how the money is being utilized. And then once a year, we're audited by the fiscal agents to sort of look at the books and make sure that everything is being utilized in the way that we said. So it's quite rigorous in terms of, checks and balances with making sure that it's being utilized in the way that it was said and that the outcomes are what we're hoping.
Ms. Alyssa DeGrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering how you chose these 3 main, the 3 nonprofit organizations, and how you chose them and why you didn't choose to go with other organizations that focus on youth civic engagement.
That actually the coalition came together prior to me being in this role. So my understanding is that the 3 organizations came together because they were very complementary. They all had missions that revolved around engaging young people in civic education, and in some cases kind of traditional civic education. There's a lot of debate between civic engagement, civic education. I'm sure we can turn it over to the senator here, who's a former civics teacher, to tell you that there's different strands of ways that we can engage and educate people on these things. So these 3 organizations focused on civic ed and came together because of the connections they had in different networks and through different ways of reaching both teachers and the young people.
And as a government teacher for 33 years, I realize these 3 organizations are the prime organizations in the state to get young people involved and engaged and participating in the political process. So I'm pleased and proud to be associated with these 3 organizations. So.
Thank you both.
And I don't know what the competition is, but I'd love it if it became a problem. What you think organizations are out there begging for money, because as far as I know, there's not enough. So.
Thank you.
Ms. Hannah Wayman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, I know that $200,000 is going to the 3 nonprofit organizations to strengthen their programs, and I know particularly for youth and government, you have to pay to be in that, to be in it. And will any of this money go towards scholarships to help kids who can't pay for it?
No, I can't answer that question. I don't work for the Y. I don't know how, I do know that there is a fee, it's a fee-based program, and I know that they use the funds given through the legislature to do enhancements to the program itself, but I think they have varied based on the need of the program each year. I'm not sure if that's if they would have been scholarships or more about program specific, but I certainly can get back to that if you like.
And I can't speak to every high school, but I do know Eden Prairie High School has a fund available through the counseling department to help students that are seeking experiences like this, they tend to find the money if the job can't afford it, or the student, the scholar.
Ms. Hannah Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was wondering, will the money allocated be equal between the nonprofits or will it be based on the course size?
That is a fair question. It has not been equally distributed. To be honest, the Y has gotten the least amount in the previous 2 years. Learning Law and Democracy got the largest amount. MYC got the middle amount, and then the Y got the third amount. And it really was based on us sitting down and trying to see how we wanted to use the money and trying to allocate it, again, for maximum impact. The Y does have a larger budget to start with, and they do have the ability to charge fees for their program. So they were very gracious in saying that they were willing to take a smaller amount because the other two of us work more through just specifically the money we get and then try to turn that around and create those and put those into programs.
Mr. Colin McConkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How does the amount of money proposed to be allocated in the next couple of years compare to that amount of money allocated in the past couple of years?
It's exactly the same.
Is there any further discussion within the committee?
Come on. 2 more questions.
Mr. Brian Forsman.
Or comments, if you prefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to know how this appropriation of funds to these nonprofits is expected to improve our quality of life in the future.
As with any investment, you're never sure. It's an insurance policy. And we are banking that there's enough young people in this state that if we water it and plant the seed and nourish it and give it the nourishment that it needs, it'll flourish and we'll end up with someday a bunch of senators and representatives that'll be sitting here testifying someday on some bill. And that's the hope with every dime we spend on our youth, is that we're investing in the republic that Franklin referred to 220 years ago. Hopefully, if we can keep it. And so these are minor investments in the grand scheme of things that will encourage this wonderful experiment in democracy. But we'll never know. But that's a great question.
You know, I'd like to say too that I think you're right, it's hard to know, but I think we all know what we don't like when we look out at politics right now, when we look at what's going on in some cases. We don't like seeing a lot of gridlock, we don't like seeing a lot of name calling, we don't like some of the lack of civility that we would like to see exhibited by our civic leaders. One of the programs that I'm looking at for the next year that would be funded through these kinds of monies is called Respectful Conversations. It's actually a program, a model developed by the Minnesota Council of Churches, and we're looking and experimenting to see if there's a way to adapt that for classrooms. Because what I saw at the election last year was that some teachers were so afraid of being able to dialogue or having conversations in their classroom about who was on the ballot that they chose to shut down and not have those conversations at all, or not let their class participate in the kids voting, because they didn't want to risk the fisticuffs or bad feelings or poor sportsmanship, gamesmanship that people were having. And I think that's a real shame. I think the only way we learn how to be in society together is to practice those kinds of skills that allow us to learn about how we gain empathy and listen more carefully and disagree respectfully. There's all kinds of reasons we can disagree, but we can do it in a way that still upholds civility and upholds the democracy and the principles of democracy that we were just talking about. And I think those are the kind of programs that will enhance all of our quality of life as we continue to strengthen our republic and the democracy and the communities that we all go and live in.
Ms. Tiara Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the handout that you gave us, it says under the requests for 2018-2019 for $125,000 in each year to the Minnesota Civic Education Partners. And I'm just wondering if this was the original idea, was it supposed to be $125,000 for each program, or was that for the the entire coalition, and you decided to raise the amount?
That is a good question. Actually, we have bills in 2 committees. So the what you're looking at now is the bill for the education committee. So we get $125,000 collectively for all 3 organizations out of education, and we get $200,000 out of the legacy committee. And so I think the bill that we must have in front of us here is representing the legacy, and the handout I just happened to give you is for the education committee. So the numbers are not meant to be crazy different, but just the 2 different lists they're coming from.
So would this be for a total of $325,000, or are we hoping that one would go through and you get another?
It's for a total. But
We
this
hope.
bill, your bill is 200. The bill that you're looking at now is for 200, is that correct?
Correct. So the 325 figure.
Ms. Zamzam-Chowdhury?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned earlier that you were a civics teacher. How does the civics education in this program differ from what is taught in our schools?
It's, whenever my students are gone and they come back a little sheepishly, because maybe they were gone in their eyes for an inappropriate reason. And I always tell them, you know, don't let school get in the way of your education. And what I always mean by that is, if you went to the Capitol for the day and you participated in youth in government or another civic organization, or you're down here lobbying your senators and representatives, and you're gonna look me in the eyes and say, sorry I missed school today, I'm gonna look at you and say, you probably learned more at the Capitol today than you would have learned in a week or a month, or even in some cases like here in the classroom. And we need to do a better job of getting our youth out of the cells and bells of the classroom. This is coming from a classroom teacher who adored their job and never regretted a Monday or looked forward to a Friday in 33 years. But I do understand that we also have an experiment going on in the world called, you know, American democracy, I alluded to, and this is just an investment in it. And it's like everything else. The more time and energy and investment we make in you guys, you'll do a better job taking care of us when we're retired. So that was supposed to be funny, sorry. They got it.
The original goal of public education actually focused on civics and creating citizens. When public schools were formed, that was paramount to what the role of the school was to do. And that has shifted as we moved into more classes focused on workforce development. And that was just part of the evolution of how people have needed to use education. And I'm all for math and science and STEM and all those kind of good things, but in some cases we've lost the amount of time and focus spent on civics in the schools. So our programs are really meant to enhance what's already being done as much as possible, build on what you learn, build on that semester of civics you get or that semester of government, and allow you to take that and sort of apply it authentically and be part of something that takes that learning, like you said, outside the box.
And if I can just add one thing, because it's a perfect transition. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. This is the Minnesota State Constitution. And if you look up duty, D-U-T-Y, and the duty the state senators and representatives have, you'll find one duty of mine in the state constitution. And I'd like to read it to you. Are we closing? Okay. The stability of a Republican form of government, dependent mainly upon the intelligence of the people. It is the duty of the legislature to establish a general uniform system of public schools, and by extension, programs like this. And as Ms. Anderson alluded to earlier, science and math is important, but when they were talking so many 150 years ago about the intelligence of the people, they weren't talking about science and math. They were talking about civic virtue and political efficacy and political awareness of the issues facing this great state. And so, as one of my duties, the only one I have in this entire document, I take it pretty seriously. So, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to close the discussion and motion that House File 1793 be recommended to pass.